KCR Garu had offered to the Congress party that he will merge his party into Congress if Congress concedes Telangana. Unfortunately, Congress being Congress, they take forever to do anything. And I've always been brought up in a very anti-Congress kind of environment. So from my childhood, I've always had a very strong dislike. Arey bhai, thank you, but आप कैमरा के बीच में आ रहे हो. I've always had a very, very strong dislike for the Congress party because the way I look at it, we've completed 71 years in independent India and all of us travel across the world. When we travel to different parts, even Sri Lanka, even Malaysia, even Thailand, even Dubai, or I'm talking only in the vicinity, 2-3 hours range. The difference between these countries, the infrastructure there, civic sense there, the basic necessities and the basic amenities and how they've been handled versus how things are in India. The difference couldn't be more stark. We all come back upset, we all come back disturbed, we all come back a bit irritated, that हम लोग क्यों नहीं ठीक से काम करते हैं. After 71 years of independence, we still in India have villages which do not have electricity, which do not have drinking water, which do not have basic roads. I can go on. Basic infra, जो एक आदमी को जीने के लिए चाहिए. Now, who is to be blamed? Because in 70 long years or 71 long years, the lion's share of governance has gone to a party called Congress. Now, these guys, had they delivered, had they actually done the basics, pani, bijli, sadak, had these been done, today India wouldn't be in shambles. Fact is, India is growing, India is a great economy, India is a great country. We are we are very proud of our country without a question, all of us are. But fact is, this one national party, I would say, has to take lion's share of the blame, keeping the country as is. So I called my wife back in 2013. I told her, KCR Garu has decided to merge the party into Congress. So I called her and I told her, we might have to, I can't see myself in Congress. So we might have to pack up our bags and go back to the United States. She said, why? I said, I just can't see myself in there. So we were never in this for power. Honestly, we were. I don't have to lie to you today because I'm very confident we are winning next election as well. I don't have to really lie through my teeth just to make a point. Fact is, we were committed to merging our party. But Congress, like I said, couldn't seize the opportunity. Now, going back to what I was saying, if you were to ask me what we did in the last 4 years, we focused on getting the basics right. We said, let's get the basics, power, har kisi ko chahiye hota hai, electricity. So we said, let's get that done. So today, in fact, we can proudly say two things. One, we're not only self-sufficient, in fact, we're going to be surplus soon in terms of electricity. And yesterday's report, I don't know how many of you have seen it. In fact, one of the indicators that people use to gauge the development of a state is how much electricity you consume. And today, Telangana, in fact, at 13.6% increase in consumption, is the state with the most per capita consumption of electricity. Clearly shows that the industrial usage, the agricultural usage, and the domestic usage have, gone through the roof, and Telangana has been, in fact, consuming a lot of power. So we've gotten the power aspect right. Second thing is drinking water, peene ki pani. Now, for those people who don't understand this, a lot of people, in fact, don't understand this. In countries, when you travel abroad, see, I went to Zurich last January, to attend the World Economic Forum. I was in a hotel in Zurich, and I was looking for water bottles. Pani peene ka chahiye tha, I was looking for water bottle, couldn't find one. And then I go into the washroom, and proudly they have displayed a sticker. They said, this is Zurich water, safe to consume, as good as spring water. See, now, हम लोग कहाँ पे हैं? Here you are in a city in Europe somewhere, where even in the washroom आप लिखा है कि ये पानी पी सकते हो, safe है, spring water के level का है. And in India, even today, we have thousands of villages, hundreds of thousands of villages, where you have to walk kilometers on end to fetch a pail of water. So what we've done in Telangana is we've launched a massive project called Mission Bhagirath, which is going to be completed in November this year, wherein each and every house in Telangana will be connected with a potable drinking water connection. And in rural areas, 100 LPCD in rural areas, in municipalities, 135 LPCD, and in corporations, 150. I'm not saying there aren't any lacunas. I'm not saying we've done it all. There are lacunas, but we've gotten our basics right. The third thing why you should consider voting for Telangana. In fact, we all live in Hyderabad. We all believe information technology, services, hospitality, these are the mainstays of the economy. Fact is, India is still an agrarian country. India is still a country which depends heavily, almost 65% of Indian population either is dependent on agriculture directly or indirectly. Today, Telangana, in fact, has been taking up irrigation projects on a mission mode. Kaleshwaram, we always wonder when we read newspapers as to how China could complete 3 gorges in a record time. How another country has done something, where we read a report recently about a 55-kilometer sea link in Hong Kong being built in no time. We always wonder. Today, Telangana is doing something very similar. A project like Sri Ram Sagar, which is taken, which Jawaharlal Nehru had laid the foundation stone for, is still not complete, by the way, the stage 2 of it. But in Telangana, in the last 4 years, a project like Kaleshwaram has been completed to 90%, which is going to irrigate 38 lakhs of acres of land. And when this is completed, in another 6 to 8 months, it will change the fortunes of the farmers of Telangana. These are the 3 reasons I can think of readily. I can think of many others, but broadly, which affect larger segments of the population. These are the reasons why I would say, we didn't worry about next election, 2014, and we assumed office. We sincerely hoped that the next generation in Telangana would actually be able to look back and say this government has done something long-lasting, something truly permanent, and something truly remarkable. So, I think those are the top 3 reasons I can give you.
The next question, with your permission, in Telugu. కిందటి 4.5 సంవత్సరాల్లో మీ ప్రభుత్వం చేసిన బ్రాడ్ అచీవ్మెంట్స్ మీరు చెప్పారు. ఒకవేళ మీ ప్రభుత్వం వస్తే, మీరు చాలా స్ట్రాంగ్గా చెప్పారు మా ప్రభుత్వమే వస్తుందని. ఒకవేళ టీఆర్ఎస్ గవర్నమెంట్ మళ్ళీ ఫామ్ అయ్యి కేసీఆర్ గారు ముఖ్యమంత్రి, ఇంకో గవర్నమెంట్ December 11th మనకి తేలితే, నెక్స్ట్ 5 సంవత్సరాల్లో మేజర్గా తెలంగాణలో కానీ హైదరాబాద్లో కానీ చెయ్యబోయే మార్పులు ఏముంటాయి?
తెలుగు అందరికి వస్తుందా ఇక్కడ? అందరికీ వస్తుందా? I'll translate. I'll do Telugu first and then come back. Next 5 years అన్నారు కదా. ఇప్పుడు ఈ మొదటి 4 ఏళ్లలో కొన్ని పనులు ఇందాక నేను చెప్పినట్టు ప్రారంభించగలిగాం. సాగునీటి ప్రాజెక్టులు కానీ, పవర్ విషయంలో కానీ, లేదా మనం చూసినట్టయితే లా అండ్ ఆర్డర్ చాలా ఎఫెక్టివ్గా నడపడం కానీ, తాగునీటి పథకం మిషన్ భగీరథ లాంటి స్టార్ట్ చేయడం కానీ, ఇవన్నీ చేయగలిగాం. నెక్స్ట్ 5 ఏళ్ళు మా ప్రాధాన్యత ఏంటంటే సాగునీటి ప్రాజెక్టులు ఏవైతే ఇప్పుడు కొనసాగుతున్నాయో వాటిని ఫస్ట్ పూర్తి చేయాల్సిన అవసరం. పాలమూరు పూర్తి చేయాలి, కాళేశ్వరం పూర్తి కావాలి, సీతారామ పూర్తి కావాలి. ఈ 3 పూర్తయితే మా కేసీఆర్ గారి విజన్ ఏంటంటే 2022 సంవత్సరం కల్లా తెలంగాణ 1 కోటి ఎకరాల మాగాణం కావాలి. 1 crore hectares ల్యాండ్ తెలంగాణ. సాగునీరు వస్తే సంపద వస్తుంది, సంపద వస్తే సంస్కారం వస్తుంది, సంస్కారం వస్తే మిగతా అన్ని బై డిఫాల్ట్ ఆటోమేటిక్గా వస్తాయి. కాబట్టి అది ఒకటి చాలా టాప్ ప్రయారిటీ కింద తీసుకుని అది చేస్తాం. రెండవది, వీ హ్యావ్ టు కన్సాలిడేట్ అవర్ పొజిషన్ విత్ రెస్పెక్ట్ టు ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ ఇన్ హైదరాబాద్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, Hyderabad today, lot of us, including myself, have complaints without a question. We can be better, we can do better, we can do much better in fact. But in spite of this, I'm not going to give you comfort, relative comfort. Kani, ee roju kuda Hyderabad still, when compared to Bangalore, when compared to Chennai, when compared to other cities, we definitely have better infrastructure. When you travel outside and come back, you'll realize that. I'm not happy with the existing infrastructure in Hyderabad. Ultimately, Hyderabad infrastructure ki ముఖ్యంగా హైదరాబాద్ లో ఉండే సివరేజ్ సిస్టమ్ మొత్తం ఆధునీకరించాలి. ఇక్కడ ఉండే స్టామ్ వాటర్ డ్రైన్స్ ని ఇంకా బాగు చేయాలి. ఇవన్నీ చేయాలంటే దాదాపుగా నాకు మొత్తం రాబోయే 3-4 ఏళ్ల కాలంలో ఒక 50 నుంచి 55 వేల కోట్లు పడుతుంది. ఎందుకంటే unless you get your drains right, unless you get your sewerage system right, unless you get your storm water drains sorted, you'll not be able to get good roads. You'll not be able to have roads which will last a longer term. So therefore, our priority is going to be focusing on urban infrastructure, including sewage treatment plants, including once Mission Bhagirath is completed, we'll have a lot of liquid wastage. So you'll have to also address the issue of sewage treatment and liquid waste management. That is going to be a priority. Same is the case with solid waste management in a city like Hyderabad, where today we are generating almost 5,000 metric tons of waste every single day. Now that also has to be incinerated, that also has to be converted into another form of energy or another form of useful material which can be again recycled. Now the third thing I would say, on health and education, we've made some progress, but I think a lot more has to be done. For example, we've improved institutional deliveries almost by 30%. We've gotten the IMR down, we've gotten the MMR down, infant mortality rate and maternal mortality rates have come down significantly in Telangana. Institutional deliveries, like I mentioned, have shot up by 30%. We've been able to, especially in the rural areas, been able to improve the confidence of people in government institutions. Even in Hyderabad, we've launched Basti Dawakhanas in the lines of Mohalla clinics in Delhi. And I'm delighted with the response they've received. We already have 45 up and running. In fact, I went across the road. There is one in Begumpet. So one day I walked in as a random check. What happens is, there were about 40 odd people around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I asked them, so how was it going, I was generally chatting with them. This was a random check. So they said, sir, there were about 4 dispensaries around this area, private. All of them have shut shop because Basti Dawakhan has come. While these are drops in the ocean. These are all drops in the ocean. They all do count. Because ultimately when you're able to inspire confidence of people in public institutions, be it on the health front or education, only then would you succeed completely. So I would say urban infra, health, education and completing irrigation projects. In that order or maybe slightly here and there, but that would be the top priority.
One aspect, whenever we liberalization in 91, we have fallen behind in manufacturing. And even the work you've done in encouraging entrepreneurship, T-Hub, there seems to be this kind of bias towards technology, which is not held against you. But in the next 5 years, do you think you will make Telangana and Hyderabad perform much better in manufacturing than any other state in India? What kind of thoughts do you have? And how do you co-opt these people who are all representatives of what would fit in the MSME kind of segment? How can they be part of that vibrant manufacturing vision of the state?
Sriram, let me point out 2 things. Firstly, this comparison between China and India is extremely oversimplified. A lot of people make that mistake of this oversimplified comparison of China and India. Just because we are of similar sizes, large countries, people make that comparison. But the fact is, China is a country, India is a continent. India is hugely diverse, very heterogeneous, and more importantly, India is a democracy. Now, in a democracy, while things might take time to get done, but when they get done, they'll have a long-lasting and a more permanent impact is what I would like to believe. And I believe world over, if you look at USSR and everything that has fallen apart right in front of our eyes when we were growing up. USSR, in fact, at one point of time, I don't know, superpower at one point, yes, I was looking to see how many kids in the room, who actually don't know what USSR is. I'm sure there are. See, when I was in school, there was always this rivalry between the US and the USSR and the Cold War. I'm glad so many people who actually are of my age as well. So, if you look at it, within no time, the way USSR just disintegrated, right after Gorbachev, was a shocking commentary on how quickly things could fall apart, even for a country like USSR, which was considered a mighty superpower, which was ready to take on the United States. Now, that is why I strongly believe that, this whole bubble or myth of China and how it produces world's 40% of this and 60% of that, that also might, I won't wish it for them, but I do believe that there are a lot of layers underneath which could make it quickly fall apart. Today, China is getting very, very expensive, by the way. For manufacturing, in fact, it's getting very, very expensive. Now, going back to your question about what can Telangana do, you have to understand, and all of you in the room also have to understand, one thing with respect to Make in India campaign that was launched by Prime Minister Modi. See, the launch, the intent, I do not doubt it. I do not doubt the intention of the man. I do not have much to say about, I'll not, let me put this way. I'll not trash the intention. But the fact is, make in India, today, we have, I think, about 6 mobile companies manufacturing in Telangana. But when I say manufacturing, I have to say it with a pinch of salt. These guys are actually assembling, they're not manufacturing here. None of them are. They are just merely importing material from China or elsewhere and just assembling them here and calling it Make in India, which is not what Make in India is all about. Make in India, if you really have to make mobile phones or computers or electronic goods in India, we'll need, initially at least, a fab, which India does not have yet. A small country like Taiwan has multiple fabs. A country like China has many, many fabs. Even countries like Malaysia and others, where Chinese companies have gone in and set up fabs, we all know what has happened there and how that has changed their economies. Unfortunately, today, even when Apple wants to manufacture iPhones in India, today, the small unit they do in Bangalore today, where they are manufacturing 5 to 10,000 phones a month, is not really manufacturing. They are just merely assembling them, honestly. If somebody really wants to manufacture here, and if that somebody wants to come in and talk to central government and union government in Delhi about some more tariff relief, some more easing on barriers, etc.
Okay.
Unfortunately, even this government, India government, has not been very helpful. This is what the feedback I've gotten from large manufacturers who wanted to come in, set shop. I've traveled to South Korea, I've traveled to the US, I've met with many of these large manufacturers who wanted to come in. They were very keen because they've been telling me that China is getting expensive. I've started looking at other options. I'm looking at Malaysia, I'm looking at India, I'm looking at another Southeast Asian country, etc., etc. So how can you make it better for us? Unfortunately, the ball is not completely in our. While Telangana as a state can offer land, power, incentives which are within our domain, the fact is, many of the trade barriers that have been imposed by Government of India, unfortunately, come in the way of real manufacturing happening in India. That is going to be a huge challenge. Yes, we all want to create jobs. Yes, we want to bring manufacturing to our country. But unless Government of India wakes up from its slumber and realizes that their Make in India campaign is only helping the Make in China campaign. In fact, a lot of these solar panels that people are now calling, I'm manufacturing in India, are actually not being manufactured in India. They're just merely importing all the products and assembling them here, right here, in the EFCs that we've set up.
The statue of Sardar Patel
Also was assembled. L&T takes claim for it, of course, but it was again made in China. The fact is, we have a long way to go, a lot of ground to cover, especially from union government's perspective. They can't just be resorting to sloganeering and not really come out with policies to back them up. Unfortunately, that has been the case even in this government, on which many of the businessmen, many of the businesswomen had a lot of hopes on Prime Minister Modi and his government. But unfortunately, we have to come to the realization that this government also has not delivered on the promise.
because it is election season, and despite my desire not to get too political here, can't.
See, I'll tell you what. KCR Garu is the Chief Minister here of Telangana. Narendra Modi ji is the Prime Minister of this country. We may not see eye to eye on many things. We may not see eye to eye on our policies with respect to a lot of things. Fact is, when you've been chosen by the people of Telangana to run a state, and when the Honorable Prime Minister has been chosen by the people of this country to run the country, we have no choice but to work together. That's what democracy is all about. Put your differences aside, set your differences aside, set your ideological issues aside, and work together. That's what we do. And if Congress or our opposition अगर ये जबरदस्ती हमारा शादी करवाना चाहते हैं तो हम क्या करें? देखिए सिंपल बात है. People think that we criticize Congress more and BJP less. यार बीजेपी है ही नहीं स्टेट में तो हम क्या करें? किससे लड़े? कोई दुश्मन है ही नहीं है तो कहाँ लड़े? Our principal opponent here is Congress. तो आप ज्यादा शोर शराबा कांग्रेस के बारे में सुनेंगे ऑब्वियसली. बीजेपी के बारे में ज्यादा बोल नहीं सकेंगे इसलिए क्योंकि बीजेपी है ही नहीं. आज उनके 5 MLA हैं वहाँ पे, 5 MLAs in the house. I can confidently say, and if there are any BJP supporters, don't get me wrong, I can confidently say out of the 119 seats that BJP is going to contest in Telangana, they are going to lose deposits in more than 100, and out of their 5 जो अभी हाउस में हैं, शायद ही एक भी वापस नहीं आए. मैं कमेंट के साथ नहीं कह रहा हूँ. I am talking based on the kind of rejection, the kind of mood the people seem to be in with respect to BJP in Telangana. Now, I'm not talking about Delhi, I'm not talking about anything else right now. We'll talk, जैसे बोलते हैं ना क्रिकेट में, अगली बार खेलो फिर बाद में नेक्स्ट ओवर अगली बार फिर खेलते हैं. पार्लियामेंट के बारे में बाद में बात करेंगे, बट असेंबली में फिलहाल more than 100 seats BJP is going to lose their deposits, and not a single MLA of theirs might come back. So why is Zabardasti relation? Now, yes, we've supported some of their policy initiatives. We've supported GST, which I still believe is good for the country. One nation, one tax, I think it has eased the pain of a lot of businesses. Yes, small businesses, medium businesses have suffered a bit in the transition, have actually had to go through a rough ride initially. But in the long run, you will realize that it will help you. So therefore, I think it's better to clean our books. It's better to make sure that we do business the way it has to be done. And it is going to help us all in the long run. Because once you build your credit history, once you build your business, and once you want to scale up, I think having a good history, having a good track record would only help you and not hurt you. Secondly, we also supported demonetization in the beginning. When our Honorable Chief Minister reached out to the Prime Minister, asked him, क्यों किया आपने? उन्होंने कहा, संपूर्ण क्रांति की तरफ ले जाएंगे आप. हमने यकीन किया, भरोसा किया. हमें लगा कि वो ईमानदारी के साथ इसको आगे ले जाना चाहते हैं. Unfortunately, he left it midway. He talked about, the narrative kept changing with respect to demonetization. Initially, it was about black money. फिर बाद में बन गया counterfeit currency के बारे में. Then it became a story about terrorism. Then it became how, I don't know, अभी पता नहीं आज का latest क्या है मुझे नहीं पता. Digital currency, digitization, cashless India, etc. So the narrative kept changing. But the fact is, Narendra Modi at some point has to admit demonetization was a mistake. He would just तरह उसको चाहते थे, how he wanted it to pan out. It did not. And it is good in politics sometimes to admit कि भाई हमारे साथ भी गलती हो गया. कोई बात नहीं, लोग भरोसा करेंगे क्योंकि people understand after all you're human too. You know, you're the prime minister, that doesn't mean you're demigod or god. आप भी इंसान हो, गलतियां हो जाते हैं. But he hasn't so far. So therefore, a lot of issues where we had to take a principled stand, we've taken. But that does not mean we have anything with it. And I can assure you, हमारे ideologies बिल्कुल नहीं मिलते हैं. There is no question of working or supporting the BJP at all.
So on the issues where you're against them, you'll never change and you'll always stick to your principles.
I'll tell you one thing very, very clearly. BJP as a party has certain philosophies and has certain ideologies which ARS and KCR Garu will never ever conquer with. So there is the story. There can never be a question of BJP and TRS agreeing on some issues which divide, which have have divided the nation in the past. I'll not want to go in depth into it, but there are issues which have caused a lot of acrimony, a lot of bitterness, a lot of angst among people. Now, we do not want to, tread that path again.
I'll take you to a very different subject which will interest everybody here, and at least we have a lot of women entrepreneurs here. One of the things you've actually been able to do, and people, when we were fighting for Telangana and there was a lot of debate there, said certain things cannot be done if Telangana is given. One was electricity, you've turned it around. There were fears of Naxalism, law and order, you turned it around. One of your most stupendous success, I feel, which is not talked about, in a kind of time when it is a big debate all over the country, is women's safety. You've actually made Hyderabad one of the safest cities for women in India. How many of you agree with that? Right. So, speak to us about how important are women, especially working women and entrepreneurs to your government, because it's not often we discuss about them in political discourse. We talk about farmers, we talk about, and they are important. Women safety, women entrepreneurs.
Why confine ourselves to working women and women entrepreneurs? I think women who are homemakers, women who are single mothers, women who are doing so many things on their own, and also working women and women entrepreneurs, all of them in fact. I think you have to realize one thing, it's not just about women's safety, or it's not just about safety of entrepreneurs. What we've done when we've assumed office is, see, do, when you do look back, about 4.5, 5 years, हमारे बारे में इतने सारे डाउट थे, टीआरएस के बारे में, इतने सारे अफवाहें थे, so many rumors, so many biases, so many prejudices, so many people who had apprehensions about TRS. कि TRS एक शिवसेना जैसा आउटफिट, पहले आंध्रा वालों को भगाएंगे, फिर बाद में दूसरे राज्यों से जो लोग आके यहाँ पे हैदराबाद में बसे उनको भगाएंगे, कुछ भी मतलब हर चीज, everything we said was misconstrued, misinterpreted, and it was put in the public domain to make us, as demons and as villains. But when we kept insisting that once Telangana is formed, you will see us focusing on governance and governance alone. Not many people bought into it. But Sriram, if you remember, 2014 in Hyderabad city, we only got 2 seats out of 24. Only 2 assembly seats out of 24. वो इसीलिए नहीं था क्योंकि हम पे जो लोग कंटेस्ट कर रहे थे उनके तरफ बहुत ज्यादा प्यार था. वो इसीलिए था क्योंकि टीआरएस पे बहुत सारे डाउट थे, इनको हराना जरूरी था, ये उस दिन का सोच था. But the fact is, from 2014 April, which is when the elections happened, till 2016 December, till GHMC, when that happened, you could see the transformation clearly. You could see how the mood of the people in Hyderabad started shifting. And one of the principal reasons for which I attribute it to is law and order. Because Hyderabad I was raised in Hyderabad. I was born in Karimnagar. I moved here when I was in my 4th or 5th grade. I went to St. George's Grammar in Habits. And I remember very well. हर साल गणेश के टाइम पे जरूर 2-4 दिन कर्फ्यू लगते थे, 2-4 दिन कम से कम हॉलीडे, पक्का हॉलीडे, हर साल विदाउट एन एक्सेप्शन, बीट कांग्रेस और टीडीपी, जो भी सत्ता में था. मैं आज आपको सोचने को मजबूर करता हूं. आई रिक्वेस्ट यू ऑल, हैव वी सीन इवन एन आवर ऑफ कर्फ्यू इन द लास्ट 4 years in Hyderabad? It wasn't just women's safety or safety of a particular section which was apprehensive. It was about the well-being of the overall city. It was about keeping the city safer. We've started some very, very unique initiatives. For instance, we started an initiative where we wanted to put up 1 million or 10 lakh surveillance cameras in the city. I'm happy to share with you, more than 5 lakh have been installed. More than 5 lakh, 50% have been installed. The rest is underway. If you pass by road number 12 in Banjara Hills today, you'll see a huge 2 twin towers coming up. That is going to be up and running in 6 months. It is going to be India's best command and control center, and it will be run by the police department, wherein we'll get all the feed from these 10 lakh cameras, not just for law and order purposes. Tomorrow, for instance, there could be flash floods in Hyderabad. You might need disaster management mechanism. So including the chief minister and his team of ministers, all of us could be stationed there, the command control center. Take stock of the situation, make things work the way they're supposed to work, keep the city running, like they say. So broadly, the agenda has been to make the city safer, but at the same time, there have been instances where we've taken special pains to ensure our women, especially those who are in the workforce, have been kept safer. When Tata Consultancy Services was launching their large office in Adipatla, which is Adipatla, which is right now near the airport. It's their own. That's the only large office complex which is there. They have about 7,000 to 8,000 people now. They have the ability to have 20,000 plus people working out of there. So they came to us. Mr. Ratan Tata was here. He met the chief minister and he said, "I'm worried about the women who work there because it's in the middle of nowhere. I want you to do something to give us confidence." Within 7 days, chief minister did 2 things. One, he'd gotten a brand new police station, fully staffed, sanctioned right there. Second thing he did was a fire brigade and a fire station, large one, again sanctioned right there. That inspired them to add more and more headcount and more women employees in TCA's office in Adipatla. Same is the case with the Kachibauli and the IT corridor there. A lot of them, the financial district. If you look at the IT corridor, there is something called Hyderabad Security Council. They work very closely with the government. we've launched we've launched some facilities like she shuttles, she teams. Now, all of these have been extremely helpful. In fact, one of the things I also wanted to narrate today, a friend of mine, I don't want to name names, he's actually in the room somewhere. He gave me a personal anecdote. One day I went to his place in the evening for dinner. So he was sharing his experience. His wife went to a supermarket in Hyderabad somewhere, and somebody misbehaved with her. Somebody was clicking a picture or something. She came back home, she told him. He wanted to actually call me, complain that somebody was misbehaving. He chose not to. He wanted to test how this institution that we built called She Teams actually works. He dialed the She Team number, 100 I think it is, and complained to them. Within 2 hours, he got 3 calls. Firstly, confirming the identity. Secondly, again, he got a call back saying those people have been, just detained. And thirdly, after they've been detained and nabbed, the cell phones were taken away and they were asking if he wanted to press charges. Within 2 hours, 3 calls were made. Point I'm trying to make is, it's not individuals that matter. See, the commissioner of police today could be a very good man, very efficient man. But once he goes away, what happens to the law and order? It's about making institutions more permanent. It's about processes taking precedence or processes superseding persons and personalities. So therefore, we believed in creating institutions which have this long-term, long-lasting impact in ensuring that women's safety becomes one of the core agendas of law and order inside the city. While we've not really gone to town talking about how safe women in Hyderabad are, I'm happy to share with you, at least 7 states have reached out to us. 7 different states in India to study the She Teams model. कि हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं? And by the way, She Teams are not only in Hyderabad. She Teams are also in district headquarters. She Teams are also in smaller towns, and we are going to take them further, down the road and down the process as well, to make sure that a woman in rural Telangana feels as safe as a woman in Hyderabad also.
अगला सवाल मैं अगला सवाल हिंदी में पूछूंगा, क्योंकि आपने हैदराबाद में इतना काम किया, आपका क्या अनुमान है कि कितने सीट टीआरएस जीतने वाली है इस बार?
हम अगर सारे के सारे जीत जाएंगे तो इतराज है आपको?
बिल्कुल। इतराज आपके पार्टनर को होगा कि उनके लिए भी 7-8 सीट छोड़ दीजिए, एमआईएम आपके दोस्त हैं,
7 सीट उनके लिए छोड़ देते हैं।
चलो, अगला सवाल मेरा ये होगा कि क्योंकि चुनाव एक तरह से एक पॉलिटिशियन के लिए और एक नेता के लिए एक अप्राइजल सीजन जैसा है, तो जब आप पिछले 4.5 साल को देखते हैं तो आपके जहन में आता है कि ये एक काम मुझे करना चाहिए था, मैं नहीं कर पाया, सम रिग्रेट, मे भी आपने सोचा होगा कि अगली बार करूँगा, लेकिन पिछले 4.5 साल में आपने इतने अचीवमेंट्स के बीच कोई ऐसी चीज़ जो आप करना चाहते थे न कर पाए हो, या आपको लगा कि उतना सक्सेस ना मिला हो, जिसके बारे में आप बात करना चाहेंगे?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the हिंदी में बोलो?
Your wish. English.
I'll try Hindi. My Hindi is not as good as yours.
I studied in
Fantastic Hindi, man. हाँ, हैदराबाद.
अगला सवाल हैदराबाद में.
वही चलता. हैदराबाद में चलता, सब चलता. So, पिछले 4 सालों में one of the areas जहाँ मुझे पूरी satisfaction नहीं है, वो है हैदराबाद के roads. I'm not happy with the way Hyderabad roads have, been restored. In fact, I have to admit, I have to be candid. हैदराबाद में कुल मिला के 9,000 किलोमीटर के रोड हैं. इसमें से 4,000 किलोमीटर हमने ही खोदा है, क्योंकि हैदराबाद के चारों तरफ जो पेरिफेरल म्यूनसिपैलिटीज थे, जो जीएचएमसी में मिल गए, मर्ज हो गए, उसमें कोई वाटर सप्लाई का वहाँ पे सुविधा नहीं था. So when we assumed office, we started a large project with 2,000 crores, and these 13 municipalities जहाँ पे कोई पानी का सुविधा नहीं था, वहाँ पे हमने हड़कों से एक लोन लेके उसको कंप्लीट करने की कोशिश की. तो उसमें 3,000 किलोमीटर में ही खोदना पड़ा. इसके अलावा हैदराबाद मेट्रो चालू तरफ उनका भी काम चालू, और तीसरा था SRDP, द स्ट्रेटेजिक रोड डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम, जो आप अंडरपास, फ्लाईओवर जो बनते देख रहे हैं आप. तो ये सारे ही चीज़ ऑलमोस्ट 10,000 करोड़ का वर्क अभी SRDP में भी चल रहा है. इसकी वजह से हुआ यह है कि हैदराबाद के रोड्स हैव टेकन अ बीटिंग. आई विल एडमिट टू दैट. But जब कोई, this is where I have a problem. This is where I have not been able to crack the puzzle. And this is where my opponents, in fact, keep taunting me. कि हैदराबाद के रोड देख, हाँ मैं मानता हूँ कि हैदराबाद के रोड जिस तरह होने चाहिए वैसे नहीं है. वो इसीलिए क्योंकि हमारा रेस्टोरेशन जो करना चाहिए था वो ठीक से नहीं हुआ. Now I am trying to figure out ways and means to address this problem once for all. One of the radical things I am going to propose in the next government, if KTR Garu once again entrusts me with municipal administration, which I am not very confident about right now, but मैं एक proposal तो जरूर लगाऊंगा. वो ये है कि हैदराबाद के अगर मेन रोड आप देखें जो 6 लेन और 4 लेन और above, that itself will be about 900 kilometers end to end, like south, north and east to west. 900 kilometers. I want to break this 900 kilometers into about 9 or 10 units, pieces. And I want to give them away to private parties for annual maintenance, because GHMC cannot do it. I've tried it 3 years, does not happen, does not work. I'm going to go for a radical solution. No matter my engineers might curse me, they might not even vote for me also, but still, I will go ahead and do this. You will see this happen. And I promise you, I have to get sewerage and drainage right to make this happen.
How often we hear politician expressing dissatisfaction with himself, his work and the department. Since you've studied, worked in America, I was asking them about politics and their views on politics. And because they were cameras, they were very diffident. Whereas you see in America, Donald Trump can be criticized very easily. Since I asked them and they were not willing to answer, I thought I'll route it through you to them.
You know, Shriram, trust me, after social media has come in, कोई नहीं छोड़ता हमें, कोई नहीं बचता. People say anything and everything, whatever they want to say.
Unless they have a business.
No.
ना?
नहीं, ऐसा भी कुछ नहीं है. Off late, you go any place, campaign, कोई ना कोई उठ के बोलता है आपने ये नहीं किया. कोई
So
बात.
when you
Democracy.
go to meetings and when two people come and tell you I'm not happy with you.
Yeah.
So
Of course,
tell me
and I
this.
welcome it. I welcome it. If somebody walks up and says you haven't done this right, I'll try and correct myself if I can. If it's not within my limits, if it is not within my realm of possibilities, can't do anything.
So let's another question, because this is one problem you, they, me, everybody faces. Managing our time. I see you on Twitter. You respond on global developments, you interact with movie stars, with sports stars, then you're responding to some petition from some town or village about somebody saying I'm not getting this, then I see you addressing a conference, you have a perfect speech, then you give a media interaction, and then you go on to do an interview. How do you manage your time? How do you enhance your effectiveness? And if you could give some secrets which they could use in their lives, in their businesses.
No, there are no secrets. I don't manage my time very well. I'm ridiculous. In fact, I showed up 2 hours late. So of all the people in the world, time management in me, I don't think I manage it at all. And this whole myth about work-life balance is nonsense. Nobody has found that balance, as far as I know. And I have definitely not found it. I'll be candid. If you talk to my wife or my brother-in-law, they can vouch for it. Because you have to understand one thing. जैसे बाजीगर में क्या कहा उसने शाहरुख खान ने, कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ खोना जरूरी होता है, और हार के जीतने वाले को वाह. Point is, you have to make those little sacrifices if you really want to get some work done. See, politicians, we are fortunate because in India, अगर आप जब भी सुबह उठ के एक न्यूज़पेपर निकालते हो, उठाते हो, उसमें 3 लोगों के फोटो दिखेंगे आपको. एक हो गया पॉलिटिशियन, दूसरा स्पोर्ट्स स्टार, तीसरा सिनेमा स्टार. अब सिनेमा स्टार बनने के लिए, स्पोर्ट्स स्टार बनने के लिए टैलेंट की जरूरत है, पॉलिटिशियन बनने के लिए कोई चीज की जरूरत नहीं. So that way we are very fortunate. That way we are super fortunate. And within the limited time that we are given, we are given 5 years to govern. And in that 5 years, the first year goes in understanding the job, the nature, the role, responsibility. The last year goes away in again fighting an election. तो बचे 3 साल. अगर इन 3 सालों में कुछ करना है, कुछ कर दिखाना है, तो obviously you'll have to make little sacrifices. Now, thankfully, my wife is understanding, my kids are also understanding. So therefore, I am able to make do with whatever little I can. But trust me, Sriram, I don't think if success is a barometer, and if success by success you mean professional success or personal success, wealth, fame, etc., etc., you have no choice but to work hard. You have no choice but to make small sacrifices. You can't have your cake and eat it too. That does not happen. अगर कोई बोलता है तो झूठ बोल रहा है, पक्की बात. If somebody is partying way too hard and he says, I've earned my right to do it, then I think there is something seriously wrong with that fellow. You have to realize that he must be working hard, but he must not be showing it. He must really be working hard, but वो दिखाना नहीं चाहता. Wants to be that cool stud that मैं बहुत intelligent हूँ, मैं ये हूँ. So point is, my time management is bad. Don't even try.
So I'll now take a question from somebody. I give the name if you're here. Mr. P. Kumar Raya, Penchala Kumar Raya. Would there be an electric vehicle policy in the next government, given the needs of environment, pollution, and the kind of jobs?
We've already ordered the first tranche of 90 odd electric vehicles which have come in, electric buses that have come in. Hyderabad has about 3,800 buses, the RTC buses. Now, goal is to transition all of them out, because हम लोग जब उसके पीछे जाते हैं, especially two-wheeler पे, you know what I'm talking about. So we want to phase them out. But the industry as such is one which is in its nascency, which is in its infancy. So the industry is evolving, and there are different models which are coming in. जहाँ आपको गाड़ी खरीदने की जरूरत नहीं है, लीज पे भी ले सकते हो, और the vehicle will pay for itself. So we are looking at multiple opportunities, and we'll definitely ensure that all 3,800 are phased out in the next 5 years for sure. And the other thing I also wanted to point out, there are opportunities again to assemble. Again, people talk about manufacturing of electric vehicles in India. Nobody is actually manufacturing. They're all lying through their teeth. They're just assembling. We also have had two large companies who have approached us, and we are happy that they are all shaping up very well in Telangana. So yes, a policy is a must to provide incentives to those who want to set up units here, and we will be coming out with one soon, after 11th December when you elect us back.
Please give a bigger round of applause for that, surely. This is Tej Naidu Kota. Are you here, sir? Okay, another one. T-Hub is a successful incubator program for technology and other startups. Will there be such programs for SMEs?
SMEs, in fact, I saw Prime Minister's statement today in the newspapers, and I thought too little too late, but nevertheless. He had come out with something now. He's talking about giving a 1 crore loan in 59 minutes. I don't know what is with 59 minutes, sorry? 1 घंटे के अंदर ना? Well, I'm not going to trash his idea the day one he announces it. Let's see how it unfolds. Let's give the man the benefit of the doubt. He announced it yesterday. Let's see how it pans out. But I can tell you one thing: SMEs, MSMEs in Telangana. In fact, the first large industrial park in Telangana of the SMEs is going to be launched in about 400 acres in a place called Dandu Malkapur, which is beyond Ramoji Film City on Vijayawada Road, and that is going to be up and running soon. That is an opportunity for SMEs to come in, take a piece of land and start manufacturing or start, doing your own thing there. That is one. So, and that park has a lot of incentives to offer. We haven't publicized it because we haven't launched it yet, but we will be launching it. There will be a lot of opportunities. And then we also have 3 women entrepreneur parks. So those of you who are women and are also MSME or SME entrepreneurs, you have specific policies. You have more incentives than any other MSME entrepreneur. We have 3 such parks. One in Sultanpur, one in Nandigama, another one which I don't recollect right now, but we have 3 parks. Jayesh Ranjan, my industry secretary, by the way, उसका कोई exam नहीं है हर 5 साल में, तो वो अभी available है. You can talk to Jayesh and he can definitely give you more information. Unlike me, I have to go through an exam, he doesn't. So he can help you in case any of you is interested in wanting incentives or in wanting a piece of land, start your own enterprise.
This is by Mr. Suresh Kumar. Are you here? This is a nice question. Will you stand in the development of the state? They are all here to want to work with you in many capacities, not just investments.
Can you explain the idea? What do you want to do? करना क्या चाहते हो? You know what? Let me put it this way. We've had arrangements with. What is the point? A lot of this apathy of educated urban voter, in fact, translates into bad governance. My request to BNI is be a part of the process. Begin with voting, begin by voting, and then there's initial euphoria, initial enthusiasm, exuberance. It is easy to demonstrate. But कोई चीज दिल लगा के उसको मतलब पूरी तरह अंत तक ले जाना, it is very very difficult. So I challenge you guys, in fact, BNI, adopt 2-3 colonies, देख करके दिखाओ जो हम कर नहीं पाते, GHMC जो हम कर नहीं पाते हैं गवर्नमेंट, आप लोग करो, make them safe, make them green, make them साफ सुथरा, maybe donate a few vehicles and work with the local residents and demonstrate to GHMC कि अगर हम कर सकते हैं, आप क्यों नहीं करोगे? I think that will be a great revelation.
बिल्कुल समय समाप्त सा हो गया है और क्योंकि इसको स्पिरिट ऑफ हैदराबाद कहा गया है तो मैं हमेशा थोड़े आशा के साथ ये सवाल आपसे पूछता हूँ, क्या 2-3 बजे तक रात को सैटरडे के दिन एक्सटेंशन कुछ स्पिरिट ऑफ हैदराबाद के खाते, अभी इलेक्शन कोड लगा रहा है, कुछ कह नहीं सकते?
He said spirit of Hyderabad, now he's talking about spirits of Hyderabad. I was surprised the other day when I saw a statement of a Congress leader. वो कहता है, बहुत अजीब लगा मुझे देख के, वो कहता है कि कांग्रेस अगर सत्ता में आती है हम ड्रंक एंड ड्राइव बंद कर देंगे। मैं बोला ये कहाँ की बात है, इससे ज्यादा बेवकूफ वाला बात मैंने तो नहीं सुना आज तक। See, today you have to realize one thing, guys. When you drink and drive, you're not just, I might sound a little preachy, please bear with me. When you drink and drive, you're not endangering your own life. You might end up hurting somebody really deeply and badly. You have to be responsible. You cannot be so irresponsible that you'll just do whatever you want. And we live in a society, when we live in a country, when we live in a state. In fact, let me give you an example of my own daughter. She was 5 when I took her to Singapore. We went on a holiday. And as you know, our Indian kids in India, Hyderabad, sab chalta hai attitude. As soon as she got down in Singapore, I told her, listen, if you throw a wrapper or a paper or jo bhi cheez kahin bhi, police might come and arrest you. She was shocked. He said, what do you mean? You're there? No. I said, I'm there, but they'll still arrest you. Then she says, why? I said, littering is wrong. And she says, no, you never told me in Hyderabad. I said, I've tried, but you never listened. Trust me, this 5-year-old girl, for the next 7 days, behaved herself so well. Whenever she had something to throw, she would put it in her pocket or find a trash bin. She was well behaved. Point I'm trying to make is human beings by nature are wayward. By nature. अगर हमें आज़ादी ज़्यादा दे दिए ना, तकलीफ होती है, होगी. So all these things that we brought in, drunk and drive or whatever, are for our own good. It is not really to put you to trouble or to irritate you. After a long, dinner with your friends or session with your friends or whatever. It's not to irritate you or inconvenience you. It's to make sure our city is safer. Our people are safer. So my request is, yes, in fact, we've increased it by a bit. बस एक बात बताते हैं आपको. This party Congress is so irritating sometimes. When I became a minister, I said, Hyderabad needs more social life. Hyderabad needs more social capital. So in the initial days, out of exuberance or whatever you call it, I said, I'm going to bring sunburn here. People scoffed. They said, "Arey, kaisa hoga?" But today, Hyderabad has become a destination for EDMs. Hyderabad has so many events happening. और उसमें भी इनको गलत लगता है. उसमें भी ये लोग बोलते हैं, ये तो ड्रग्स का अड्डा बन गया. ये तो यहाँ पे हर वो चीज जो नहीं होना चाहिए वो होता है. बोला ये कहाँ की रीत है? You say anything and everything and get away with it. All I'm trying to do is improve the social life here so that I can attract more investments, create more jobs, make it easier for all of us to live in a city where, if you really want to be a global city, you also need a good social life. You can't just have good roads and good drains and, beautiful buildings and call it a city. City is about its soul. Hyderabad, I say, nahi ban gaya. Today people dream about creating cities. I'm not going to name names.
That was impossible to guess.
Really? You want to take a wild guess? Go for it. Point is, you can't built a city like Hyderabad just like that. Some people claim I have built Hyderabad. हैदराबाद को कोई एक आदमी ने नहीं बनाया. ये शहर जो है, it has evolved over 430-40 years. Quli Qutub Shah had laid the foundation. Then people like us, over a period of time, kept on adding to the brilliance of this city, kept on adding to the fabric of this city, kept on adding to the beauty and vibrancy of this city. Today I cannot claim that I have done so many. I may have erected a building, I may have created a small little thing, but to claim that I have created a city, that's nonsense, firstly. And secondly, let me point out, city का जो soul होता है, हैदराबाद की खूबी ये है, हैदराबाद की beauty ये है, and I can't stop when it comes to Hyderabad. This is a city which has got some very, very unique attributes. It's got that old world charm and the new age vibrancy, which not any other city in India can talk. If you look at Kolkata, I wonder what Didi will say, but I'll say it anyway. That city I don't want to live. Kolkata. Chennai, very, very humid. Delhi, too polluted and too arrogant. Bombay, too hectic. Everybody is running somewhere, I don't know where. Bangalore, can't get out, can't get in. What is the point? Bacha kaun?
Found acceptance, love, support and affection from people going beyond limits of a political leader, bordering on the kind of fan following that a rock star, a movie actor or a sportsman has. And just before we end, I'll request him to stand up to give us all an oath. This is just that we will all resolve to vote on December 7th. The oath will flash here. By a small request, अगली बार जब आपकी सरकार बनेगी, इवांका ट्रम्प जी आएंगे, इस बार हमारे घर के सड़क से भी उनको जरा एक वोट